Pablo Shin, arrested for bestiality by HPD's Major Offenders Livestock and Animal Cruelty Unit near Rice Village.
4-year-old Shavance Smith was taken into custody around 1 a.m. Saturday. Police say a witness claims they saw Smith sexually assault an 8-month-old female pit bull mix.
Accused of penetrating a dog, 51-year-old Joseph Hattie faces up to 15 years in prison if convicted, and officials say the dog has been removed from harm.
This is 42-year-old Christina Patterson, who now faces 6 counts of crimes against nature, things like bestiality, carnally knowing an animal, and 6 counts of animal cruelty.
Hold on just a second. None of these people are members of the furry fandom. So, why do so many people have the misconception firmly planted in their heads that all furries are like these filthy degenerates? And, more importantly, why is the misconception still around today? Shouldn't it have faded away by now if there has been no proven correlation? As many of you are aware, a person being part of the furry fandom does not correlate to said person being a zoophile. Instead, furries are mostly ordinary people who have an interest in anthropomorphic characters, some to the extent where they create their own characters or cosplay as them. However, a zoophile is somebody who is sexually attracted to animals, even those that aren't anthropomorphic by any means, such as a domesticated pet or farm animal. I believe it should be clear to the vast majority of you, just by hearing those definitions, that the furry fandom does not have any direct correlation to zoophiles, meaning that a person who is a furry is not inherently a zoophile. But now you may be thinking about where the misconception came from, and how it got so widely accepted by some misinformed members of the public and to the anti-furry groups. Well, I was curious about that too. It turns out the issue stems from erotic anthropomorphic art drawn by members of the furry fandom, which was, and still is, distributed on various platforms such as E621. This caused several members of the public to take to forum sites and several social media sites to spread the belief that people within the furry fandom are interested in sexual acts with animals, due to these art pieces displaying such acts between anthropomorphic characters. However, it should also be noted that the word yif in the furry fandom, which refers to the aforementioned erotic anthropomorphic content and originally derived from the sound made by 2 foxes engaging in intercourse, also played a role in confusing the public as to what members of the furry fandom were referring to. Of course, members of the furry fandom who are involved in that side of the community are aware of what this term means, yet the general public, who typically only vaguely knew where the word derived from at the time, were extremely confused and also took to forums and social media sites to discuss it. So, you may be wondering, if all of this essentially got cleared up in the early 2000s, why the misconception is still so prevalent today among both the public and anti-furry groups? Well, unsurprisingly, it appears that these explanations by members of the furry fandom did not reach everybody who discussed these misinformed views at the time, perhaps because they only briefly read the forum as a visitor and then never returned. As misinformation usually does, it unfortunately led to these views being ingrained into the general stereotype of members in the furry fandom, leading to more confusion and the spread of more misinformation by people who don't know any better. At the end of the day, this is just another one of the many misunderstandings about the furry fandom, derived from the early internet and into the early 2000s when new slang was being created, and a subculture of people formed who enjoyed viewing not safe for work content. In fact, people in the furry fandom are actually extremely against zoophiles, and it doesn't take long to find instances where immediately as a zoophile is exposed, hiding among members of the fandom, they are exiled and removed to the best of everyone's ability. So, just as the title says, furries are not zoophiles. We hate them just as much as any non-furry or anti-furry person does. So, don't come after us, go after them, like we do. And with that, I hope you all have a fantastic day.